What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're here with Miss Royda Urey. I know you remember her last time. She is from Liberia. She's from America, but she moved to Liberia, and she's better known as Becky in Liberia. So we want to bring Becky back on to talk to us. So hello, Royda.
Hi, Phil. Wasn't expecting that intro, but hello.
Well, you weren't expecting that intro. Well, last time you kept talking about white girl, so we're going to call you Becky. So hey, maybe could you say you want to clarify that comment, because a lot of things in the comment section people were saying, they were misconstruing. Help me understand, because I don't understand why you're being called Becky over there in Liberia. It doesn't make sense to me. You don't look like Becky, but explain that to us.
So we just going to jump right in, I see. Okay.
That's what I do.
So clarification, I am from Liberia. I was just born on American soil and then had to go back to America. So I consider myself a Liberian. In the last interview, we got into some topics that about how people are defined in Liberia. And I think that's where the interpretation went left. So when I say people refer to me as a white woman, it doesn't mean that I'm technically white, nor do I want to be white. You see, my issue my whole life has always been you can't please everybody, right? So
I don't even try.
Exactly, but I had to come back and clarify because I want to be on the show. I want people to watch my channel and not misconstrue what I'm trying to say. You never black enough for the black people. You never white enough for the white people.
Hold on, Royda. What does that mean?
That means for me as a person, right? Me as when we had the conversation on the last show, I explained me as a person and how I identify and the things that I've had to experience in my life. Right. So for me, I've never fit in any box because of the fact that I came from an African home, in America, but as a whole, I'm looked at as an African American woman, right? Which I've always identified with. Now, when you say I'm mixed, people get upset that you say you're mixed. Then when other people ask you, what are you mixed with? And you don't necessarily want to answer that question because when I was there, I was like, I'm a Black American. No matter what, I'm an African American. No, when the police pull me over, they're going to say an African American female suspect. They're not going to be like, you got 25% Cherokee in you, So I understand that, but then you have to come back to your home where you're considered Liberian, okay, African. A lot of my schoolmates were learning about different things than I was. I wasn't, we would learn about Black history, the little bit that they gave us in elementary, middle school, and high school. And then I'd be going home to hear about my history, my country, where I was from, where my mom grew up, where my father grew up. So, that put me in a whole different arena. Then, you get mixed in the different groups and you just never really feel like you belong. I was in America, but I felt like I was always going back to that African household. Your family is everything at the end of the day. And you're going to deal with what you deal with at home. But you also have people, and I see it all the time. It's not the first time, but on the channel, the last interview we did, people, some people get upset when you say you're mixed. Other people say, why does she claim who she is? So you can never please anybody. And when we get back to you can't be, you're never Black enough for the Black people. You're never white enough for the white people. It goes back to my whole upbringing, right? I had a lot of Black friends growing up, when I went to grade school beyond, but they always knew me as the African. They knew my mom, they knew my family. They would come to my house and they would see how African it was. And my mom was cooking like things with palm oil that would smoke up the whole house, and stink it all up. And then, like when I was in high school, I would go to parties that were majority white. I was like the token Black girl in that area, in the city that we were living. And of course, you can never be white enough for them. But then also, I have this mixture in me. And sometimes I get fed up a lot. There's a meme floating around that's like, what are you mixed with? And the person says, my mom and my dad, leave me alone.
Right.
So get all these people who look at you as a Black, I look at myself as a Black woman, but nobody ever comes up to me and says, you're Black. They don't. So when I was reading the comments, and I've said this before, even on O'Shea's show, I know a lot of the viewers on your show are very pro-Black, and I'm down with that. I'm Liberian. You can't get more Black than this at this point. But you know, if you don't identify, they get upset. People get upset. You know, oh, you can't just be African. You're not really just Liberian, are you? I get that every single week. This gentleman DM'd me the other day on Instagram, and I'm not even going to get into the ignorance and the lack of education of people. And he's like, "What are you doing in Africa?" I was like, "Actually, I'm in Liberia." And he's like, "What are you doing there?" I'm like, "I'm from here." And he's like, "You mean the library?" I was like, "Have you looked at the map?"
Lord, the American education system is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very interesting. And then when I'm like, okay, have you looked at my Instagram page? Have you seen where I live? Like, I have a pin that says I'm living in Liberia. And he's like, oh, you're not Liberian. You're not Liberian. So I always am like, where do I go? Where do I win? So I'm just Royda. I'm just Royda at the end of the day. But to clarify to a lot of the viewers, and comprehensive listening is such a useful tool that a lot of people, either they don't want to practice it or they don't try to, on all scales, all across the board. I never said I was white, nor do I want to be white. But in a place like Liberia, anyone of light complexion, anyone who has an American accent, or a British accent, or an Australian accent, even darker skinned people who have those accents and those mannerisms that are not them, that are not, Liberian, colloquial. If you have any accent that's not a colloquial accent, they will put you in a category. So light skin, dark skin, white, Black, Chinese, and they don't, in Liberia, everybody's the same. Lebanese people are called white people.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Roy. I was listening to you, and as I'm listening to you, sound like you having a lot of inner turmoil at times going on. Just based off of what I'm hearing, like, does that really bother you about identity? Or because, like, for me, let me talk about me. I never fit in with nobody, and I'm born right here, United States of America, etc. Right? I never fit in. I never understood why I never fit in with nobody. I was always the one people come to ask about their problems or to tell their problems. Didn't know why. I'm like, well, I'm the guy you come to tell your problems to. You get what I'm saying? I never got it until later in life. I understood. Say, oh, okay, now I get why I'm a lot different. Why I don't fit in with a lot of people, because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And what I'm doing is basically not a lonely road, but it's just something that everybody's just not doing, right? So exactly. I accepted that. Now with you, and just based off of what you're saying, so like for me, I'm a Black man all day long, never could change that. But in the end of the day, I'm me. So do you feel that you don't fit in due to identity or personality, character? I mean, what part? Because me, I can care less on people. And people tell me I'm not whatever, I'm like, okay. I don't live for you. I live for my family, myself, etc. Right. So like, what do you fit in that?
Well, as far as identity goes, I will say growing up, those boxes, those characterizations that I just spoke about, they were challenging for me growing up as a kid. Growing up as a first generation African child is one in its own. You have a lot of things. I talked about it on our last interview. And being assimilated into American culture while having that African home life, it's difficult. It's difficult. And growing up, it was definitely like an internal, tug of war with myself, trying to figure out where I fit in. But as you did, I got to an age where I was just like, listen, and not even only on like my race or, my geography, just me as a person. Like, I am very comfortable with myself, and I've been very comfortable with myself since my early teens, 20s. But I would say growing up, and this is not only for me, this is for African children all over the world, especially first generation American, children to African born parents. I remember, like I said in the last interview, it was never cool to be African in my time growing up. We were called the African booty scratchers, all these different things. Now, recently, there's this whole wave where Africa's cool, right? And then you start to identify with other people that are outside of your family, because of course, you and your cousins are going to go through the same thing, right? But you see in a lot of these Nigerian, African comedians that are popping up on Instagram. I Am Dulo, African Ape. Those are Nigerian guys. The guy, I can't think of his name, a Ghanaian guy. But the storyline is the same in all those different countries. And we can all relate to that now and laugh about it. And it's like, wow, it wasn't just me. It just wasn't Liberians. It's like the same way in Ghana, it's the same way in Nigeria. So those things have definitely helped, I think a lot of us that maybe have felt alone when they were growing up.
Okay.
Kind of feel,
I want to give you a little pushback on that. And I can just talk about myself, and most Black Americans probably can relate to that. Being Black in America, you never fit in. So our culture doesn't fit in with mainstream white America. Anything, how we speak, how we address ourselves, anything that we do, really they don't fit in. They how they like what you call the safe Negro? That's the ones that fit in. So like, for instance, someone like me grew up, South, my family's from Louisiana. So we had a lot of Creole, culture and upbringing, your trail rides, your zydeco, boiling of the crawfish, I have, just crawfish balls, doing the things that we normally do. That's a little bit separate from them. So, because I hear a lot of, African immigrants talk about, I never fit in, but really we all don't fit in white America.
Agreed.
None of us, we just fit in. At least this the thing is, with us, at least, you guys can say, hey, my home is Liberia, my home is Nigeria, etc. But when it comes to us, we can't really point to anything. We can't even, so we actually have to choose something to do, and that's based if we are accepted.
I agree with that 100%. And let me tell you why a lot of Africans say they don't belong, because I will say this from my own experience, not to say that my African American friends did not treat me well. They wouldn't be my friends if that was the case. But in my experience, ask a lot of African immigrants. The Black community or their Black friends don't accept us. They don't. You will find a group of people that are like, yo, that's so dope. Like, I want to learn more about your culture. But do you know who was calling me an African booty scratcher? You know who was making fun of us as kids? It was Black people. The white people are more interested in a lot of instances. I would say growing up, my parents are from Liberia. Black people in general be like, oh, you from Africa. Not saying the woke people, not saying the educated people, the people who take the time to research things. You know what I mean? There's the majority of Black America does not know. I don't know. Let me backtrack before they jump on me. A lot of people do not know a lot about Africa, a lot about the continent. And I can tell you from experience, the reason why Africans don't feel accepted is because we look at Black Americans like, these are our people. These are, in this white America, these are the ones that we're going to gravitate to. Black Americans, Caribbean people, Haitians. That's what we gravitate to, right? But then you have a group of people saying, oh, you're African, do you live in Zamunda? Things like that. I know personally, my experience, it was other Black Americans that made me feel like an outcast when it came to being Black.
Okay. So, like I said, now I want to respond to that because you aren't the only one who have ever said that. I'm glad you said it. These conversations are beautiful. These conversations are wonderful. So let's talk about the Black American perspective. Unfortunately, the system that we live in, the American indoctrination system, I don't call it the education system, I call it the indoctrination system. They don't teach Black Americans, or really no American child, anything about the continent of Africa except that you came from the transatlantic slave trade. So anything about Africa in itself. And first of all, Black Americans, or most Americans, say Africa like it's a one country. It's a continent with 54 different countries. Most of us don't even get down there because we wasn't educated on that. And then so everything about Africa is horrible, right? So we've been indoctrinated to think that everything about Africa is horrible. We went through the school system. Most people who listen could tell you that. And most of us today that know more about Africa, we had to learn on our own, or some of us that went over there. So we're being fed, at least when I was a child. Anything about Ethiopia is quite strange. I actually went to that country. everything about Ethiopia, feed the children, and the children with the swollen bellies, and everybody poor and destitute, and all the white people just feeding the poor black children. That was some amazing propaganda. And then I went over there myself and say, okay, yeah, you got poor, but the poor is everywhere. And then you got a lot of nice places. I took many great pictures there. You know, you've been there. You know how it is over there. So they didn't tell us any of that. All they try to get us to do is to be ignorant. And then, unfortunately, also, some of us are tribalistic, no different. Now, that's an attachment that comes from the continent. Just like you talk about how maybe black Americans can make you feel a certain way. Well, they made me feel a certain way. I'm dark skinned. I was called all kind of dark as night and all. What did they say? All the time I can see you in the dark when you open up your eyes and smile, and that comes from black people here. But you know how we look at it. Okay, we roasting each other. It is what it is. Not that serious. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of us here have been through so much emotional trauma that we hate ourselves due to the system. Like, you gotta think about it. Everything here told black people to hate your hair. Your hair is horrible. Your lips is horrible. Your nose is horrible. Your skin color is horrible. They had a brown paper bag test. You know, they started with colorism way back on the plantation field. So black Americans are really been through a lot of trauma. Okay. And, you know, if you really get into the depth of the trauma that black Americans have been through, I'm just happy that we just halfway sane. Okay.
Right.
So some of us are still in a state of ignorance. So when they ask you about Zamunda, then this is how I think. Okay. Obviously, this brother or sister don't have the education. So you could use that moment to teach them, say, well, listen, you know, brother, Zamunda is a fictional place. Let me teach you about Liberia. Let me show you my videos. I'm going to show you what really go on in Africa. That's how we have to approach each other.
Definitely. And in every instance, even some of my friends, I can tell you, one of my friends, when I moved from Detroit, commented on another person's post that was in South Africa. And he was like, my homie's out there. And I messaged him. I was like, you know, I don't live in South Africa, right? And he's like, what's the difference? And I literally sent him a map where I circled where Johannesburg was and drew a line all the way up to where Liberia was and circled that. You know, I'm not a dismissive person. When people ask questions, you know, it's always great to educate. Well, going back to what you said about the history, and I completely understand, you know, that a lot of Black Americans are traumatized, just the way that a lot of Liberians are traumatized, you know. We got into all the tribal stuff last time, so I'm not even going to go there. Right. But, you know, at a young age, when you're being called an African booty scratcher, or, you know, even someone saying to you, you're black as night, how do you defend yourself? You know, you don't defend yourself, especially when it's everybody against you. I remember.
Roast them back. Don't take it see, we was all growing up just roasting each other constantly. So it was nothing. Okay, you call me something about I'm black as night. Okay, I'm gonna call you something about you being light skinned or whatever. I mean, this is what we did.
But no, not everyone is like that. You know, I remember. Can I give you a distinct story? Right. So I must have been in middle school, 6th or 7th grade, and my mom would drop me off to this lady's house in the morning where I would catch the bus from, because God forbid your child be alone for 30 minutes. You know, you can't have that happen. So there's this fish we have in Liberia called boni. It's like a dry fish. In the process, you have to boil the fish. You have to put it on a steamer or dryer. So I was there. The woman was in the process of making boni. I went to school like a normal person. Didn't think anything of it.
Right.
Not that I smelled like a garbage full of fish. So, you know, children are cruel. So
yes, I know very well.
Yeah. I went to a very small Catholic middle school. I mean, all the people that were in 6th grade, we all graduated in 8th grade. So I distinctly remember, and this might be trauma, but it's funny now. You know, the class bully was like, ooh, something smells. Then they started sniffing around, and I'm like, oh, God, I think it's me. Like, I'm like, please don't come near me. And they're like, oh, it's Royda. And every time somebody walked into that classroom that day, they'll be like, stop, smell the air. What do you smell? And I'm just waiting for it. And they're like, I mean, this went on for years, until we graduated into high school, where we were much more mature and we all became, you know, really good friends, and college years as well. And we still laugh about it. But to be 12 years old and having a whole classroom make fun of you calling you fish girl for the rest of your middle school career. I remember there was a Method Man and Redman song out, and there was like a line. It was like, "Oh, what's this? Smell like fish." Yo, they clowned me for 3 years for this. So when you say roast them back, I'm a small little petite 12-year-old. I'm not gonna go against, a whole classroom. But I mean, everybody has these stories of being made fun of and being bullied and different things. But see, the root of my problem wasn't that I smelled like fish. It was why I smelled like fish. There were so many layers to why, and I couldn't even begin to explain to them, well, my African mama had to drop me off at a lady's house because I can't be alone unsupervised at any moment of my life because somebody's gonna at me or something's gonna go wrong. Then they have this whole fish and they don't like just bake like normal people or fry. We got to dry it out where for days your house. It was just so much layers to stuff.
Okay, wait, hold on. So basically, what you're saying is the way they fixed it, it was a protruding smell.
Oh no, it's very strong, extremely strong. But when you grow up in it, you don't think anything of it. You know what I mean?
So basically, if a Black American was to walk in, like, oh, what the hell, like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And that's it. It was a strong smell. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, I couldn't even start to explain to them why I smelled this strongly. And that was the first time, or maybe one of the first times I realized, or my memory was like, damn, I'm really out here in these African streets. And now I gotta make sure I have perfume in my bag, just in case I step out. If they start making stuff with goat meat or cow foot, that's a really stinky meat too. So I was prepared after that.
Have you ever thought about maybe cooking those meats outside? For instance, if you boil crawfish in your house, that crawfish smell is going to be in your house for a long while. If you don't, so what we do is certain things that we cook out, cook outside. So do they ever think about cooking that meat outside?
For some reason in America that never translated, which is hilarious to me because when you come back home, a lot of people who have homes, they have like an outside kitchen and an indoor kitchen for that exact purpose, or they might cook outside on a coal pot. So it's like old school coal, and fire, and put the pot on there. So that happens here still till this day. Yet none of our parents took that over there, and maybe because we lived in colder climates. I was in Michigan. I don't remember what time of the year it was, but I'm sure you couldn't really be frying stuff, outside like you would do here or down south where it was a little bit warmer. But yeah, it still happens here all the time. People actually build additional units to their house. The back kitchen where the fish and all the stink meat can be, prepared, and then your house kitchen is nice and clean.
All right, so let me also talk about it from the other side, because this conversation for me is wonderful because we're trying to iron out all the kinks, and that's how you bring unity together. So now on the other side, when Black Americans, and we've heard this and we know what it means, have been called Akata, that is a very hurtful thing for Black Americans to be heard there, because if you study the history, it wasn't our fault why we got enslaved.
Yeah, and I had an interview with O'Shea about this, and O'Shea does like the live. I mean, those comments were on fire, and I tried to be because I can see both sides of the coin. Personally, for me, one of my Nigerian friends, he calls me the Akata all the time, like within all of my cousins, because I'm the American. And I mean, I understand it can be offensive, but again, African people are just so, and I can speak for Liberians, but Nigerians are very crass. And I don't always think they mean, like my friend who calls me an Akata, I know he's not trying to be, offensive to me. He's just making a joke that, oh, she's the American one in the group. What is that Akata up to? Just like I said in the last interview, when people call me white woman or Lebanese woman or Hezbollah, or whatever the case is, I don't take offense to it because they just not serious.
Well, hold on, Reuter. Hold on. Let me interject. Hold on. It's not right to call you a slave. I don't care if it's a joke or whatever. It's not right. I mean, especially how it happened, because let's call it what it is. Some of y'all, we talking about actual history. Yes, some of the Arabs was involved in the transatlantic slave trade. Actually, it was the first ones enslaving. And then you had actual tribes is on the continent was actually selling our ancestors. Okay. And then listen, nobody today had nothing to do with it. But when y'all calling black folks over here slaves, but then you can't wait to get over here to America and be where the Akatas are at. You get what I'm saying? Like how, like we take that as you talking like you're better calling us Akata, but yet you can't wait to get over here to the United States.
So the timeless debate of Africans versus African Americans. I don't know when this will end. I don't know if this will ever end.
Well, it's not a versus. It's just we discussing a reality. It's not a versus. It's just we have to talk about this.
There is a versus though, and on both sides. On both sides, I'm gonna say on both sides. First of all, Akata is a Nigerian slang, so I'm glad you're hip to that. A lot of people aren't. I just learned about it when I moved back. But you know, a lot of people always ask me, did your parents have something against Black Americans? You know, and then you see the groups of Africans who are here who will say that they have no desire to be in America. They have no desire for the Black Americans to come back. And it's the same with Black Americans, like, oh, I don't mess with them cockroaches, the, you know, African booty scratchers, and stay where they are. And, you know, I've seen both, and neither one is right. Neither one is right. And I think there's groups of people in each sector, right? That, or each group that believe this. But I also, what I can say to what you're saying is not right. It's not right to call somebody that, right? But in Liberia, because that's the only truth that I can speak to, if I go around trying to correct everyone who is jokingly, you know, they think this is like how they interact with people. And it's not only me. They interact with each other. Like I'm saying, two Native people might be like, oh, you're a stupid Vi man, or you're a dumb Mandingo boy. I mean, it's just the nature. If you go around trying to fight everybody on that, you're not gonna get anything done. Because the first thing I know Liberian people do is to be rude. They love cussing each other, and it's just like part of our culture. Doesn't make it right, but there are bigger issues that are facing us every single day. Somebody calling me a white woman or a Congo woman, you know, those things don't bother me. In Liberia, you just cuss them back. Like you said, now we've gotten to the point where we roasted each other back. And the greatest thing for me is I may not look like a Liberian. And I always think it's great when I hear them saying things about me in Colloqua and they don't think I understand, and I respond to them with the thickest Liberian accent I can find. Mm-hmm. Like if you go around trying to fight that battle, you're gonna lose it here. You're gonna definitely lose it here, because this is something that's been ingrained in the society and the culture. And I mean, it definitely gets serious at some points. Our Civil War was based on these, you know, these separations. So at times it can get serious, but not in every day. Has someone called you an Akata before?
No, not at all. But one thing is, as what I do, I have to try to bring all the arguments to the table. And my thing is for bringing these arguments and concerns and feelings is to try to hash them out so we can have some unification. That's my thing, is unification. And you cannot unify until you talk about the issues and problems, right? Because at least on, like you said, you say you may see it on the other side, but my thing is, if I'm coming into Nigeria or Liberia, I'm going to play the game for how it is over there. I'm not trying to go change a thing over there. I'm just not. I'm just trying to get along or whatever. But I'm here in America is a little different, right? So what I'm saying is, it's like Black Americans, a lot of them, that's just really, you know, how they feel. And when some of them that really get into that feeling, it's like, wait, we fought and died for a lot of things. And you wouldn't have a 1965 immigration bill. I think it was 64 or 65, one of them years, was allowing everyone to come into the country. It wouldn't have been for Black Americans literally fighting and dying, you know, for civil rights in this country. So some Black Americans really take offense to that. I know one thing, roasting is, look, I can roast anybody. That's great. I can do it with the best of them. But some people, I'm just saying some people, not so much me, because you call me a name, I'm gonna call you a name right back. Because my thing, like I told you earlier, if you call me a name, why you begging to get into our HBCUs? Why you begging to do, you know, don't just have to retort that if you gonna call us a name. So what I'm saying is, you said earlier, I don't want to be around no Black Americans. Why? Black Americans didn't do anything to you. We didn't go into Nigeria and take your resources. That's the white man taking your resources. And now the Chinese man is taking your resources too.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, why are we demonized? I'm just asking you a question. Why is Black Americans demonized when we don't steal resources, we don't enslave, we don't pillage, we don't pay your leaders to treat the native people bad? You get what I'm saying? Like, there's no reasoning to hate Black Americans.
I don't, and I don't. I think what the point you spoke about earlier is lack of education. How Black Americans weren't taught anything. Africans don't know anything about Black Americans. I can tell you that right now. They don't. They may know that there was a slave trade, and that's it. It's a lot of stereotypes. You know, what the let me give you 2 examples. So National Geographic recently came out and apologized for perpetrating these images of a very poverty-stricken continent. And they've admitted to it, that they published pictures for decades of Ethiopian children with swollen bellies and flies on their eyes, and, you know, really missing what is really happening on the continent. So that's something, you know, that's the way Black Americans saw Africa, because it was given to us that way, right? Through the media. When you saw Africa on the television, or any African nation on CNN growing up, it was usually about some type of conflict, or, you know, the starving children or something like that. So on the same end, there's a stereotype of Black people in America, and it's gangsta. Like, if you ever, I'm gonna find a clip of a Nollywood film where the characters are Black American, and the lingo and the whole like gangsta walk and saying the N-word, like, it's so comical. And I'm like, okay, when I started seeing these things, I was like, so this is how they see Black people. This is how they see Black people in America. Like, they just, and, you know, growing up, like I said, my mom, she was an equal opportunist when it comes to discrimination, not because of hating anyone or disliking anyone, but because of the stereotypes were put in her head. You know, when I went to go hang out with my Black friends, I was going to get shot because she saw those images that every Black person is from the city in New York, and there's guns. And then white people do really weird things, you know, and put people's like body parts in the woods, or, you know, whatever whatever she saw, whatever her stereotype was. That's what people have in their minds. So, and I know another thing, the very interesting part gets when you're talking about people wanting to go over there, dying to go over there. Every day you hear people, like my driver will always say, like, I can't wait to go to America. And I'm like, do you know what's happening to America, in America right now, to Black men especially? And I explain it to them. He has no idea. He has no clue. So I think there's a lack of education on both sides of the coin. And I think the media plays a large role in both of those stereotypes that are being made. I personally remember being a young African child in the 90s, and Whoopi Goldberg, in some interview, I don't even remember what it was, but she made a clear distinction that she was not African. She was Black. I don't know if you remember that interview. Maybe
I don't, but like you said, it goes back to what you said. It wasn't cool being African, and you didn't want to be called African at one point in time, because that's during the propagandized period of these swollen bellies. Everything is out of Africa's warlords and poverty, and you need the white people, you know, to come save the Africans from all this AIDS, when we know they the ones shipped all those vials of vaccines full of AIDS, because AIDS wasn't over there prior to them putting it there. So like you said, more and more is definitely coming out. But yeah, like I said, on a positive note, like I said, just from my experience, I've learned in life that rock with the people that love you, stay away from the people that don't. Right. Exactly. So whether it's right here in America, because a lot of Black Americans that can't stand my behind. Right. I'm pretty sure some Africans can't stand me either. But then there's some Black Americans that'll have love for me. And then it got some Africans that have love for me. So that's the only people I care about at the end of the day. Just focus on the people that love you, and the people that despise you, well, you know, you can go to hell. I don't know. But having these conversations and having these platforms like you have, bringing both arguments to the table, are so important. Having a network of African people who are changing the narrative of the continent. That's why it's important that we all work together. So channels like yours, channels like mine, channels of, you know, people that you've had on the show, and keeping those conversations open. I think that's where we get to the healing process. You know, education can fix a lot of things, in my opinion. Oh yeah. I see how much my country suffers from lack of education. Like I said last time, 80% of this country or more is illiterate.
And we are now going through one of the hardest economic times because people voted for a person off of popularity because he was a football star, a soccer star. And if anyone has kept up with the news, there's an upcoming protest on June 7th because the main people who voted for this man, because they thought he was going to change everything, has let them down the most. And people come up to me all the time. They're like, you know, I voted for him and I'm really ashamed of myself. I really thought he was going to be different. And it's just like the Trump situation where I never feel bad for anyone who's like, I can't believe I voted for Trump. I really thought, I was like, really? He told you what he was going to do.
Yeah,
he really kind of.
You got to give Trump that much.
Yeah, he didn't keep anything, you know. But Liberians, they can't, because of the lack of education, they couldn't see the signs that maybe an educated person would see. Now, our president wasn't outright like Trump, but there were certain things that he did. He didn't participate in the debates. If you heard any of his speeches, you would know that they may have been a little bit off. And like, what is the exact message you're trying to portray? What are the things that you are actually going to do to change the country? So I think education starts.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think, because if you don't participate in a debate at all and you don't sound coherent in your speeches, then do you think it was some election interference?
No, this is, you know, it's been, there's always rumors in Liberia, but he definitely has the people's vote. People have said that the previous 2 elections, he technically won, and there may have been some interference with that, which is very interesting as this is, as all of this is happening right now. Our former leader, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the first female head of state in Africa, you know, she had a very pristine, we talked about this last time, pristine image in the international community. Right. In the last maybe 2-3 weeks, you've seen things trickling around the Liberian community. There was a interview with Al Jazeera last week, and the interviewer just gave hardcore facts about things that happened during her presidency. And it's really exposing, you know, the rumors that have been going on, that was she exploiting the country? Was she practicing nepotism and, you know, corruption? So those things are very interesting, and a lot of people are very happy that those truths are coming to light. And if you talk to any average Liberian, they'll say, you know, George Weah won the last 2 elections, but because of the power that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf had, she won those elections. And there was always talk about, you know, fraud within the elections. But I would say he won this fair and square because the people have been wanting it for so long. This was their star. This was their person. He's a man of the people. He's in the streets, you know. He's with the people in the rural areas. So he was really a man of the people. But
got to take that power, and then it went to his head, huh?
I think that's part of it. I think he surrounded himself with maybe people that couldn't, you know, if you're not a very smart person, like I always think of George W. Bush, he didn't strike me to be a very smart president, you know. But then he had Dick Cheney around that was kind of, everybody was saying he was giving them orders. And Dick Cheney had his own, you know, agenda. And I think that what's happening here is this man is at this level, and the people that are surrounding him are not being real with him as to what's happening on the ground. And I don't think he even realized how bad it was until the UN and ECOWAS and all these different international entities got involved. So it's going to be an interesting week. Hopefully you'll be able to follow what's going on. We're all waiting to see what happens. Liberians are not excited about this. A lot of people are worried, but there's other people. I'm right in the middle. I'm all for, if you're going to say you're a democracy, let the democracy do what it's supposed to do. A fair, non-violent protest is the right of the people. So I hope it is going to be a fair, peaceful demonstration. But I also understand the Liberians that are very scared that we could go back to war times, because a lot of the narrative that was going on during the war about Congo versus country and, you know, Native versus Liberian and corruption and all these things, it scares people. They don't want to go back to what we went through. And I don't want to go back, you know, to what we went through, because the main reason I even ended up back in the United States was because of this war. And it was a very bloody war.
Right. So my thing is this. So when you run for president? Well,
So
I mean,
just
hey,
so
you were
everyone
there,
knows,
you left the U.S. I mean, you all into the politics. You might as well.
well, I'll say this. I believe that my destiny and my path has been uh, found through the art of vlogging and just being a brand and spreading the word and like using those US contacts or whoever it may be to spread the word that we in Africa are not that bad. Come visit us, come explore. We welcome you. I always make the joke with my friends, if things get rough in America with Trump or whatever, y'all come back over here. We got to open, policy to African Americans. But I will
Well,
say this.
hold on. What policy y'all have toward African Americans?
I mean, just becoming, visiting. There's no restrictions. Living, you can get a residency card.
Oh, so African. Oh, see, now that's some great information. So you say African Americans can go and apply for residency in Liberia?
Well, they're working on the laws on all of that right now. There's a lot of in between because things haven't been changed from the beginning. But if you look at the Constitution, it'll say that if you're not of Liberian Black origin, if you're white, if you're Lebanese, if you're Chinese, you cannot hold any office, you cannot own any land, which does not stop people, of course. People take leases for 99 years, so those things aren't, they're not, we don't see them. It's not that we don't see them happen, but Liberia is very open to African Americans. I mean, I was literally out on Friday and, there's a group of us that are from the diaspora are coming back now to give back to our country. And we were at this club called Scarlet, more like a lounge. And there was a large group of African Americans here for a program. I'm not really sure what it was, but we were like, they were hyped. They were like turned. And we were like, wait a minute, that's not an African A. That's an American A. Like, and we all like just ended up hanging out that night. And, they're like, we're coming back. The Alphas have a chapter here. Some of the guys were Alphas. There's an AKA chapter. So there's a huge link to Liberia and America and the African Americans. And that for me is one of the things that I want to bring that story back. I want to talk about Marcus Garvey. I want to talk about Joseph Jenkins, the first president. I want to talk about how these people came from America, how my family was a product of breeding. My great-great-grandfather was a white slave in Kentucky and had kids with a Black woman, and we all got sent back. Those are important lines that I feel that a lot of people don't know. Right. If you talk about Liberia, people don't even know we exist. Nonetheless, the history and the linkage between us and African Americans. And I always say this, if we can really, get our country together, first of all, because we have a place in Liberia called Providence Island, which was the entry point that they returned to Liberia before they settled into Carisburg and the other rural areas. It should be a historical site. They have a ship. They have pieces of one of those original ships that are underwater, but we don't have the resources to take it out, refurbish it, all these different things. They have the original steps that were built from, on the island where the ships would dock and people would enter Liberia for the first time. Those things are lost in translation because we had a almost 20-year civil war. So, like I told you, I think I told you this offline, I'm on the board for the National Tourism Association. These are things that we're working on, trying to get these stories out here. Even, like Ghana has been able to maintain Elmina Castle and Cape Coast. Those are things that we're trying to do here because we have even more of a larger link than other West African countries because of the time when the slaves returned here and started their lives here.
Right. So this is the thing. Why is it that, because a lot of Black Americans have this question. They say, okay, many would say a great gesture for African Americans or anyone throughout diaspora, whether you're in the Caribbean, etc. Right? Why is it that they say that African countries don't want to say, hey, y'all come over here, we'll give you citizenship, come live with us, come rock with us? I mean, that's just come on. Because other than what I was told at the African Union about, hey, y'all need to come back, we need you here, etc. Right? And it's a great thing to hear that. It's beautiful to say, hey, we at least want it somewhere. But why is it so hard for the citizenship part? Because I just saw a story that 200 African Americans just got citizenship in Ghana. But why isn't every nation saying, yeah, y'all come on? Like I said, bring you everybody, come on home.
Well, I can only really speak towards Liberia. Like I said, we haven't even been able to delve into those laws and policies that were made before my time, the laws that we know now, because we've been in conflict for so long. I can't personally tell people to come here, to live here. I don't know if some days I wonder how I make it. It's not an easy place to live. But places like Ghana, I would love to hear, what their policies are and why they aren't opening the doors, because there's been a huge migration. And, I think this is the year of return in Ghana. Mm-hmm. And they're very progressive. I always say to people who want to visit me, and I'm very honest, my page shows great things about Liberia, great people, the beauty of Liberia. Will I lie to anyone and say, pack your bags and come here right now? No, definitely not. Even the people who are Liberian, I can't say that to them, because if you don't have your ish together, how are you going to invite other people in?
Yeah, but, so basically what you're saying is you can come visit, but as of relocating, just hold off just a little bit. You can go visit, but just hold off a little bit on relocation.
I encourage even people to come to Liberia, like after this June 7th thing, it's time though, because it's rainy season, so you shouldn't come anyway. But, one of my friends has a tourism group, and where she's planning a trip for people to come from the States to Liberia. Then from there, they're going to go to Ghana for Afrochella, which a lot of people don't know. There's like a whole music festival with African artists. It's in Ghana. It's amazing. So we encourage that, but we are realistic. Don't get up and move everything just because you visited one time. Visiting and living are two different things. And especially in a nation like a Liberia, where infrastructure is a huge issue. It's an adjustment either way. If you move from, where you are in America, you're in Houston, mm-hmm. If you move to Ghana, it's going to be an adjustment, but it's going to be a much larger adjustment to come to a place like Liberia. But it's still going to be an adjustment. Have your ducks in a row. Make sure I always tell people, if you really want to move, if you really want to experience Africa, any of the countries in Africa, look for jobs within the UN with NGOs, because they give you the opportunity to come in, see the culture, live here, understand your responsibilities that you'll need to have and take care of while you're living here, without incurring those costs on your own. But we are open. Listen, anybody that hits me up, I'm like, you ready to come? Let me know. I'll hook you up with West Tourism. They can plan your trip for you. All the places that are on my channel, if you want to visit them, they have access to it. They plan tours. I plan on refurbishing my website to give you like my top picks for hotels and restaurants and those type of things. We're open for business. But as far as those laws, and maybe those laws even stem back to the fact that a lot of these African nations were colonized. So maybe it may take some time to change those laws. And it's great to see people like the African Union, groups like the African Union, putting that narrative out and encouraging people to come back. But it's like, you got to go and look at each country, like you said.
Yeah, you definitely got to go. And the thing is, and that's how we look at it. All these Chinese are coming in and like nobody's saying anything. So how much more that African Americans should be able to come in? You know what I'm saying? That and I feel that if they would, now do they? Let me ask you a question. Let me back up. Do they fear a retaliation from the United States government if they start all just saying, "Hey, come on, we'll give you citizenship"?
That's a very loaded question, and
it's not a loaded question. It's just a question.
No, it's a question, but it's a simple question, right? Yes. Mm-hmm. But when I say it's a loaded question, it's loaded because I personally know Liberia has a huge link. I always call it the stepchild, the redheaded stepchild of the U.S. Mm-hmm. They sent slaves back. They gave us the star for our flag. We have all these links to America, but they don't really do much for us. So I know they give y'all
money every year.
They give us money. They do.
Through USAID. I can pull up exactly how much they're giving y'all.
Yeah. And then you get to the point where now USAID, the UN, the World Bank gives us these funds. And now the biggest story around this protest coming up is the misappropriation and the misuse of funds in those places. Now, like I said in the last interview, it was Central Bank of Liberia. I don't think these international groups will be coming in and be all gung ho about it. But every country has a link somewhere. If it's not the U.S., it could be the U.K., or Spain, whatever they were colonized with. But all these people have they're allies of one another, right? So they all fall under that umbrella. So I believe a lot of what happens is with international influence. And then when you start talking about the Chinese, the only influence they have is money. And corruption is high, and they have the resources, they have the money, they have the capital to come in. And like we spoke about in the last interview, a lot of Liberia has been, the resources that are being pillaged by foreigners on all scales. It's not the Chinese, it could be the Dutch or whatever the case may be. But there's always a price for something in Liberia. I can say that.
Yeah, it's that you can grease some hands, but like I say, because you went to the money aspect, but do you you say it's loaded, but do you feel that a mass exodus of Black Americans, the ones who's choosing to go, and they're not forcing nobody to go, but the one that say if a mass exodus of Black Americans start happening, you think that they would clamp down on those African nations that's saying, hey, y'all, come on, we give you citizenship?
Who is that?
Okay. Let's say if Ghana, or say, hey, look, you come here, we give you citizenship. We use Ghana, even though Ghana has this little process that make it not as easy, from what I was told by a few people. Let's say if Ghana just say, if you hit the Ghanaian soil, we give you citizenship, Black Americans, and it'd be a mass group of Black Americans show up. Do you think the U.S. government would take issue with that?
I don't. I mean, the current administration, I don't think so. I think the current administration would love that. I think they would pray for that. Let me say, Ghana is a place where we were just talking about this yesterday. I took a trip with two of my friends to Mount Nimba. Check out my Instagram. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Highest point in Liberia. Took a 5-hour drive each way. We're talking about Ghanaians, and I always say Ghana is my second home, and how much I would love to live there if it didn't work out in Liberia. There was a point in time where I was actually considering moving to Ghana last year. I was offered a position. I was like, I was really, really contemplating it. And me as an ECOWAS citizen, so the economic countries of West African states, that we all have that passport. I can show it to you right now. I have this passport. Everybody has one. The difference is it'll say the Republic of, we say Republic of Liberia, it'll say Ghana or Nigeria or whatever it is. But this gets you into anywhere in ECOWAS without a visa.
Okay.
And this, the Ghanaians told me that the Ghanaian people who were trying to hire me told me that it was a very rigorous process for me as an ECOWAS citizen to get a working visa. Mm-hmm. So if that to other ECOWAS countries, that should just let you know, Ghanaians are a very proud people. They're very proud of their heritage. They don't hide it. They rep to the fullest. And some people may say Ghanaians don't like other Africans, or they don't want to bring other Africans in. I know they keep a very close circle. It's very hard for a foreigner, and I'm talking about a Liberian foreigner, a Nigerian foreigner, to make a lot of money in Ghana because they rock with their own.
Right.
So with their own, there may be some divides once you get there. Like if you see the current president in Ghana, they looked at him as a savior as well. Their previous president, John Mahama, they made him into a villain. He was terrible. They wanted this new guy to come in. Now you see, they say they hate the new guy. And now you see John Mahama, who, was almost exiled, and it was like pushed away. He's running again. So they deal with each other under the Ghanaian umbrella. So I wouldn't use Ghana as a measure, because everybody in ECOWAS right now is looking to Ghana. Nigeria is full of millionaires, billionaires. I mean, the private planes in Nigeria are insane, in Lagos. But if you see the new airport that Ghana built, your mouth would drop to the floor. It looks like something you would see in America or in Europe. You go to the airport in Lagos, it's not caught up. You know, Ghana is catching up with the rest of the world, and they're very proud about that. So maybe that's another reason why they're keeping that locked tight.
Yeah. So this one question I have: what do you notice the difference between West Africa and East Africa?
Oh, there's so many differences. There's so many differences. I would say West African people are a little bit more. Well, I can't say everyone, because we always say Ghanaians are like the Canadians of Africa. They're super nice. I mean, everything that they say, it's something that I don't understand it. They always say after everything, yes, please. Please is everything. Yes, please. No, please. Thank you, please. It's so nice. And it's just like, oh my God, it's an overload. Other West African nations, I would say a little bit rougher on the edges. That's speaking to Liberia and Nigeria. I can't really say for others. But when I visit East African countries, there's just this sense of calm, and they're nice, and they're just chill, you know. But the biggest, if you ask any African, the biggest thing is the food. The biggest thing is the food. Africans are divided in every nation on food. You know, they have the Jollof contest every year in the States that brings all the different West African nations together to see who has the best Jollof. I will say that Liberia wins all the time, even though everybody wants to sleep on us. But that's neither here nor there. But you will have African people that will, like I was in Kenya, which was amazingly beautiful. But I was like, there is no way I could live here because of the food. Not to say it wasn't good food, but it wasn't my food.
Right.
And I mean, you can just tell you can tell who East Africans are. You can tell who West Africans are. You can tell who Southern Africans are. Everybody's very proud of where they are or where they're from. So, but for me, I would say the nice level. And this is just speaking for Liberia. I think Liberians are just rude, crude, crass. We like rudeness. That's like a way of communication with us. You know, I remember when me and my cousin were in Nairobi. She owns a restaurant here. She's like, I just need to like hire a whole group of Kenyans that can come back and train my staff to do customer service well and be polite. So yeah, there's differences, but once again, we're all Africans. We all suffer in the same areas. I go to Nairobi, I'm talking to my cab driver about corruption in Liberia. He's gonna give me the same story about corruption in Kenya, just like my Ghanaian cab driver will, just like my South African cab driver will. I will say the one thing that connects us all is the fact of corruption and how the people below the poverty line or the underprivileged are treated the same everywhere, no matter what.
Yeah, and with that being said, Ms. Reuter, can you tell people how to get to your Instagram, your YouTube, and also your website in case they want to come join?
Sure. So we're on YouTube. So Royda Urey, ROYDAUREY is my channel. Philomena.com, that's my middle name. I'm Royda Philomena. And then on IG, which you'll be able to see my everyday life. That's where I post stories. You'll see a lot of Instagram pictures, less formal than my channel. My channel takes time to construct these episodes. I try to put together for you guys. And you can find me on Instagram at PHIL Mena, MENA, PHIL MENA. All right. Now, you know, I noticed that we're both Phil. You know, when I was going through the comments from the last episode, I was like, is it Phil as Royda or Phil as Phil? So
no, they say Phil, I'm me. You're Reuter, so I don't know. They don't know you. They know you by any other name yet, at least, you know. So that's interesting. So make sure, guys, ladies and gentlemen, you go to her Instagram page. You know, hit her up, please. You know, don't ask about certain things that's not nice. Yeah, please. So some people, you know, they get pissed off. I already know one part of the interview, you'll get pissed off about we were going back and forth about Akata and all that. So it's just part of the conversation. So she wasn't the creator of it. She was just making a discussion. So, you know, because some people, they get any feelings about that, and it just, you know, that's all I want to say ahead of time. So we all talking about building, growing, connecting. That's what the conversation is about. And, you know, definitely, guys, if you would like to go to Liberia, you can also talk to Royda about that as well, correct?
Correct. Just inbox me, message me, email me. All my information is there. Like I said, I can connect you with a great tourism company here that can help you plan all your travel needs, visa needs, shots, malaria medication, all those things. Just hit me up.
All right. So make sure, guys, you do that. We'll put the links in the pinned comment so you can do that. So, Reuter, thank you once again for coming on and clearing up your Becky-ness. And
thank you for having me. I hope you don't call me Becky with the good hair anymore, you know.
Yeah, I know, right? So we want to thank you for coming, and we'll see you another time.
All right. Thanks for having me.